Hello, everyone. Welcome to Do Life Big Network. This is Joshua Finch. He is a well-renowned artist and creative director for a college, and
It's a nonprofit. Yeah.
he's going to tell us his story. So we'll get started, and I'll ask him some questions.
Hey. All right. Welcome everybody. Welcome, Brian. All right. So yeah, what do we got for our first question?
Who are you, and what do you do?
I am a powerful, creative, visionary man, and that is who I am. And I am a visionary. And most of my visions and my babies that I'm working on right now are with creativity. Uses imagination and just unlocking the potential that we have. We're creating the image of God, and therefore we are creative. And sometimes we go to sleep on it. So I am here to awaken that, and I have workshops that help us get that training in creativity. And I also bring value to the artist. So returning value to the artist, which is using those tools in his everyday life. And it doesn't have to be where you are an artist or you pursue that as your trade, but being able to think like an artist and be creative and using that all across the board, whether it's with your family and having fun and being creative when you're learning how to do their homework, or whether it's in your business and you're having critical thinking, you're trying to think outside the box. So it just helps you on many avenues. And I work with a nonprofit that allows us to go into the school systems, and I just work with the community all the time. So that is a little bit about what I do.
And you have sold paintings before. You sell your paintings for profit. So you're like a working artist.
Yeah, I have sold my paintings from galleries that I was in, but right now I work mostly with other artists and selling their artwork. Right now, mostly I'm focused on my workshops for creativity and imagination, and that is where I'm working on. So I'm not presently selling my work at this time, but as I go through the workshop, I meet wonderful people and other artists, and I am a networker because of the visionary part, and I can see I see very clearly past where they are, and when I attach to like their passion, I can help them get connected because I'm very sociable and I get out into the community a lot, and I meet people.
You're a broker, right? Like an art broker. Is that what it is?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm an art broker, and it it doesn't just stay with just the art, but it is definitely all creative thinkers. So it doesn't have to be fine arts. So like I work with some music people. I talked to a producer earlier this morning. So with music and it could be with dance, it could be fine arts and sculpture. Right now I'm walking around the garden and there's a Save the Ocean sculpture garden. So all different avenues along the form of art.
So you are involved right now with a charity project. Is it called a billion clicks for addiction? And it has something to do with the meeting place. What is that about?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's one of the projects I'm working on with the community. I work together with a team from Gratitude, and we joined together to fundraise enough money to remodel a place called the Meeting Place, or it's like a place of hope, which is a 12-step program, like 12-step recovery. So people who are going through addiction, they get to come to this place, and this is one of the tools they use to redesign their struggles with addiction or just become aware to it. And my Gratitude friends, my ML49 friends, we got together and we fundraised enough money to paint the walls, get them new chairs, redo any of the little things, redo all their boards, and we actually even got them a website, and that's uh, Brian actually helps us with that. and we are collecting testimonies so people that are going through addiction can kind of connect with the people that have been through addiction, and they can have hope. So it goes along. So we're creating hope for people going through addiction.
So you have an addiction or a drug story yourself that you would like to share with us today?
Yeah, that is a beautiful question because I have had some experiences with addiction and just substance and not having a balance and knowing, letting it kind of control you versus letting it be part of your life. So I had a addiction to what I thought was money, and it comes down to where I was more addicted to power and more like greed. So I wasn't aware of it, and once I been through the story, like I went through it, I met lots of beautiful people, uh, and through all of through all of these situations and all these beautiful people, um, through meeting the Lord and just, yeah, so many things. This is a very long story, but basically I struggled with power, and I thought it was money at first, and I realized it was power. And once I came to that understanding, I shifted the way that I viewed money and the way that I viewed it. So my perspective changed on the subject. So I shift from uh, calling money power and money, and I shifted to value. So returning value to the world. So instead of me trying to make money or get money, I thought about, okay, well, how much value can I give to the world? And that's the value I get back. So now it wasn't about making money or being powerful. It was more about giving and giving value and then receiving value. So my language helped me kind of break through some of my addiction to power and money. And the Lord helped me a lot as well. So yeah, there's a lot of story, but the biggest thing is I just became aware of it, and then just changed the wording on it a little too. And I've had uh yeah, a few different addictions. That's one of the main ones.
So when you
And
say power, like were you in power? How were you addicted to power? Like did you have power and then you lost it? What is the story there?
yeah, so the power was when I was little, I was raised and I was raised to be very responsible with my money. So we would give an allowance, and we would be just taught how to be responsible with it. And my young mind got me attached to the money. And I was like, well, if I could just have enough money, I could have anything. So I was very responsible with it. And I took that to another level. And so I started seeking money above everything. Money became like a drug. And if I had enough money, then I would have enough anything. So it was power. And in that situation, it took me down a whole bunch of roads that I didn't want to go down and got me around a whole bunch of other people. And uh, I just had to go through some situations that taught me that that's not the life I want to live. And I came to a revelation from the Lord, and I spent some time searching for the Lord, and I really connected, and I gave my life to the Lord and connected with Him, and found Jesus. And Jesus was a giver and a lover, and He was just pure light, pure love. And I studied Him, and I was like, this really clicks for me. And I became the same. I was like, all right, I want to be just like this. So instead of taking, I started giving, and just giving and giving and giving. And in my giving, I met wonderful people, and I experienced things that just changed me. And it brought me down a whole nother road. because the road before was one of greed and power, and that road comes along with all of the things that are on the road with you. So you come down and you run into all those people and they keep you in it. But when you shift into giving and love, you go down that road and you keep meeting more people. So getting around the right people really helped me. And finding Jesus, he really helped me because he showed me a light and he showed me a way of love and just giving and serving. And from there, I just kept taking that track. And uh,
And how did you find Jesus?
it was kind of strange. I'd always been raised in church, and so I'd always had some knowledge of it. And then when I started chasing power, I was like, all right, I'm out of it. And then I would say, I'm not real sure. I think actually I might have been out having some dinner and dancing at a sports bar, and I met a friend, and she was like, "You should go to church with me." And this was after I'd been going to church, but I went away and then I came back, and now I said, "Okay, I'll go to church with her." And I had been thinking, like I drove past this church 3 times, and I was like, maybe I should go back and just check it out. And she ended up taking me back, and when I went back, something just like made sense. And I was like, all right, now I'm going to find this out for myself. So I turned off TV, I turned off the radio, and I made a commitment for the next, I think I tried the commitment for 6 months, but I lasted about 3 months. And all I did was search spirituality. Like, what is spirit? What is spirit? I would ask everybody in my workplace, what do you believe? Like, what's your spiritual experience kind of stuff. And I came through my own research and my own stuff on the internet and through people was Jesus. And that's where I came back to it. And uh, yeah, it just was a journey. I just made a decision and shut out all of the like the noise of like TV's noise, movies, and like radio, anything that was just like feeding me information. I just shut it out and I started searching and I found something. And Jesus is what I found. And that started me down a journey, which I'm still on the journey. But that's the journey I did. I just made that shift.
And you have had some struggle with substance yourself, right? What kind of substance was that, and how long did it last?
So when I was younger, uh, I had some stuff or some substances such as like marijuana. I experimented with them, and I think what it was not knowing uh, who I really was. Like I was lost and not totally knowing who I was at that time, and uh, I was just avoiding it. So you could use a substance like marijuana or anything else or alcohol, and you could just avoid what is actually there. So it was just a way for me of avoiding it. It was actually a way for me avoiding my responsibilities, avoiding who I was becoming, and it was just a way just to kind of just be lazy and not have to deal with it. I would smoke and then I wouldn't have to deal with it. I would get all excited and do stuff, but I wouldn't actually follow through. And what helped me tremendously with marijuana is uh, I got an opportunity to go to college. So I went to college and I was like, I'm cutting this out. I didn't have an opportunity when I was younger. I didn't think I ever would. And I'm just going to stop. So there was something really important to me that just made me stop. And I just stopped. And I did it all the way through 2 years of college, all the way through, got straight A's. And I didn't do anything while I was in college. And then when I did that, I got out and I bet you, I think I was around some friends. So back to that original point of being around the right people. And my friend was like, oh, I want to try a little and I will try it around a bonfire. We're just sitting there and we decided we're going to smoke again. And I was like, all right, well, this time I'm going to write it down. I'm going to keep track of it. I'm going to be like a scientist because I've always loved science and art, and I'll keep track of it. So I started writing down a little bit just on like a piece of paper so I could remember, like a journal or something, and how I felt and why I did it and what happened. And so I did all that, and then writing it down let me gain awareness of what it was actually doing. Because when I was on it, it was super awesome because I wasn't feeling any of my pain and I was just excited because it was kind of like a vacation. But then you get back, and due to the substance or marijuana, it make you forget. So you get back and you get right back in it. So you'd forget what you did when you're on it and all this stuff. And now I had writing so I could look and reflect on myself. And the reflection, having a journal, allowed me to get to a point where I did it for so long. And I just said, I went, sorry about the airplanes. So I went back and forth. I did it for a little while, about a year, kept a journal, and then I quit again just because. And then I started again, I think, because of relationship. And then I kept a journal the second time. And then finally I got it down to where, like, all right, I really, really want to quit, but I had to do it like once a day. And I had that written down in my journal, and I had it to where I was just doing it once a day and I barely wasn't doing it. And then I was like, I saw in my journal, I took one hit and then I took a second hit. And I still didn't feel it like even the first hit. So I just took double of what I normally take and I wrote it in my journal and I didn't feel anything. And I was like, okay, now I see where that's going again. And it just really just clicked for me there. I was just like, that's not what I want to be. That's not who I want to be. And all the other times it just added up and it kept adding up and it would eventually just be more than what I wanted. And I was like, that's not who I am and that's not who I'm going to be. And I made that decision and I just said, I'm quit, and I haven't done it since. And it might not be that simple for other people, but the one thing I would advise is if you write a journal, at least you can analyze and look back at yourself and reflect. Because if you're on a substance, I'm not really in my same state of mind. I get high from the substance. That's why we do it. We escape where we are. And
Right.
then you go back to being who you were. So you're changing your thought pattern. You're changing who you are in your psyche. So you get to keep a journal now, and you can actually look at that person from the third person. And you can say, was that really a good decision for that person? And really, you get to tell yourself, was that really a good decision? And eventually, you learn enough about the decisions you make, and you could just make a better decision. And it is up to you to make the decision. But I just decided, you know what? I'm going to do more. And then after that, you do more. Like, it's really weird. Like, you don't even think that you think like you do a lot more when you're on the substance, or maybe you just feel more peace. But then it goes away. And then I got real into health and into just helping people and more into my community. And now that's my life, and I love it, and I keep doing it. And I made the decision, and it helped so much. So the journal is the big thing. I think that's helped me the most.
Was there anything that you substituted for the marijuana?
So if you were to say a substitute, I would say like cardio and working out and health and wellness. So like I might have spent $50 on some marijuana, and now I'll spend $50 at a vegan restaurant or at like Whole Foods or something, in a place that has somewhat good food, or go to a produce stand and I can spend $10 and get a whole bunch of food, or like local farmers. So like food that is whole, because there's empty food and there's whole food. And I'll just nourish my body with the food and I'll feel really good. And now I meditate a little more and I'll pray and I'll worship and I'll spend time in places like this and with waterfalls. And maybe that cost me a little bit of money, but nowhere near as much or even if it is equivalent to what I spent on substance, now I'm doing it with nature. I'm connected to my source that created nature, and I get peace from being here. So and if you exercise right, you can get into what's called the flow state, and you can get dopamine release through cardio. So exercise, nutrition, and connecting with God and nature, and that's what I substituted it for. And some days I still get sad. That's me being alive, me being human. And maybe some days I'm not as active, but then other days I'm through the roof, and I'm having fun. And I work with kids too, so that helps. I got to keep my energy with them, and now I can tell them about it and give them hopefully an experience where they don't choose that, because they see where I am now. And yeah, life is much better when you're not controlled by a substance.
And I recall you also mentioned when you stopped marijuana, you stopped substances like coffee and nicotine and everything.
Yeah. So again, those are, so I don't categorize substance to just drugs, like just like illegal drugs where people are like cocaine and marijuana and heroin and stuff like that. So I categorize them into substance. I don't say like this is good drugs, bad drugs. Everything's a substance. So to me, once I stopped doing marijuana, um, I also examined and had a journal on my food intake, on my sleep intake. I did a journal on caffeine and sugar. So once I did the journal on caffeine, I realized that I would get 2 or 3 hours of energy, and then I would crash. And sometimes I would get depressed. And I really, really did not want to get depressed. And I thought I was going to have to take medication sometimes because I would get so depressed. And so I took the journal. And the journal allowed me to see that caffeine and sugar just weren't working for me. I do want to say with caffeine is sometimes I still drink green tea, and sometimes I go back into caffeine. I almost feel like caffeine and sugar is almost worse than what it was when I was like with marijuana, which that was quite a bit of time ago. But caffeine and sugar are just really easy to come by. Like you can walk in anywhere, and a lot of times they're put right when you're cashing out, so you don't have to do anything but just grab it real quick. So yeah, again, a diary, keeping track of it, and I made decisions like, do I want to be tired halfway through the day and have to drink another cup and then be all shaky and not feeling good? And then do I need to have cups of coffee? Am I not going to be able to wake up in the morning? Those are things that I would write in my diary. Is I needed it when I first woke up. It lasted 2 hours, and then I needed another cup. And then by the end of the day, 6 o'clock, I was so fatigued that my body was shaky, and I felt like really, really sad because my body was so bad condition. Now I can look back at that diary and say, oh, that's what happens. Do I really want to do that again? And with caffeine, when I go on substance holds, like if it's caffeine and sugar or more prevalent ones, and I'll just cut them out and I'll replace them with caffeine. I replaced it with jumping in the pool in cold water or cold shower. Cardio, because I get my heart beating really fast, like if I was on sugar. And then just healthy, nutritious stuff that can give you natural energy because your body creates the energy. And meditation, too, and prayer and worship, because now my mind is more peaceful because I give it a break. And that's, again, back to that journal and getting awareness of myself. So a lot of it for me is just understanding who I am and what I do when I use it. And does it really help me? Does it really serve me? So that's it.
Excellent, excellent. So, do you have any suggestions for someone that is inspired by what you're saying and they're thinking about quitting something like, let's say, cigarettes or pot or even cocaine?
Um, yeah. So if they're thinking about quitting, I would say number one, I would keep track, just so you know how much you're actually doing it. Because a lot of times, I know I would say, well, I only smoke this much, or I only drink this much, and then when I look at my journal, it was like 4 or 5 times as much. So I thought I was doing one thing, and really I was doing another thing because I wasn't really present to what I was doing because I was high in a sense.
Right.
So keeping a journal would help tremendously. Um, I took a training with distinctions about how I think, and that's gratitude. I took that training. That's who I work with that actually put on this thing here, where we did the website and we remodeled the building, the meeting place. They have some distinction that lets us see how we think. And well, I'll tell you from my perspective because it's different for everybody. So it helped me see how I think and how I was acting and helped me make a conscious decision. So it's kind of like an exercise like my journal, but with other people. And you get to hear their experiences too. So you can see if some of their experiences go with you. And that's the same thing with Jesus is when I went to church, you have a testimony and you share. And you get around other people who might not be the best people, but they're trying to be the better people. Or not even really better, but they're trying to grow and expand and give and be part of like connection in the world. So yeah, so for me it was Jesus, my diary, health, wellness, and gratitude, and the distinctions that I learned in that program as well, and just people, connecting and loving people and helping people. They're going to teach you so much. If you come with a loving heart and you come with love and peace and connection, and you just talk to somebody, if you're open to the conversation, you're most likely going to learn something because that's what they're there for. You're not meant to be alone, and I think that's a lot of it is connection. Is being connected with somebody and being present with them, and you learn from each other, from their testimony. So those are the things that I would suggest for anybody trying to stop anything, and yeah, find a way to get connected. And we have
Now,
lots of stuff. So.
you mentioned Jesus a lot. So if it's someone that, let's say, they don't really have a God, don't believe in the Bible, don't believe in Jesus, but you know it's a paramount part of recovery is finding a higher power. What do you suggest for that?
Um, so in order to find a higher power, I would say you'd need to be ready. So you'd have to want to. So when you come to the place of wanting, I would say stillness. So being quiet and listening to nothing because everything you listen to or you come in contact with is telling you something. If I walk into McDonald's, I see 1,000 signs and I get to read all of the different things I get to. And my brain is like processing all that stuff. So when you get out here in nature, you're processing creation. You're processing whatever created the world. So you can call it God, or you can call it your source or higher power, but something created all this life. And if you go out and get in it and just be quiet, you can kind of just be with that and get around other people that are moving in that direction that you see that are doing that, like something that you like or you see that they're doing. Get around them too because they're going to help you. But yeah, being still and being quiet and just listening and being in nature helps you kind of get in touch with something more than yourself. And that's a lot of what it is something outside of yourself. It's a higher power. And your 12-step programs, gratitude training, church, talking to me, I mean, they're all going to be something that you can pick up on and you can see something outside of yourself. So that's what I would say.
Excellent, excellent. So, well, thank you guys for watching and spending time listening to Joshua's testimony for a billion clicks for addiction. And to see more testimonies and learn more about other addictions, or even how to help with the billion clicks for addiction, go to 1bc4a.com. Anything else you have to say, Josh?
There we go. Hey.
Yeah, you there?
Yeah, I'm here now.
Anything else before we go?
Yeah, the best thing I would say, one last thing I would say is you are created in the image of the Creator, and you are beautiful, whole, and complete, and you are awesome. And search for that. Know that you're forgiven, know that you're loved, and that the Creator, nature, source, whoever you want to call it, loves you and wants to be in a relationship with you. So love and relationship is what I'll leave you with. And I thank you very much for the interview, Brian. And yeah, make sure you check us out, and we'll have some links to hook you up.
Yes, absolutely. And one of my favorite pastors is Robert Morris. So if you're interested in learning more, just Google Robert Morris, and he'll teach you more about Jesus. So.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, I go to Christ Fellowship, and I use podcasts, and I search online, and have multiple outputs. So there's lots of different ways. Once you start looking, you'll definitely find it and get around the right people.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, check out 1bc4a.com if you want to look at more testimonies and learn more about different addictions and how you can recover from them. Thanks, Josh. Have a fantastic day.